Hey, it's your boy Joe, and this episode is one that has been a big time request and one I've been kind of putting off until I felt like I've assembled the pieces and now's the time. This episode is going to dive deep into what I've learned over the last 13 years, but also really over the last 6 months of making this into a bulletproof system. And it's one that's still evolving because technology and all these wild AI tools and automations and workflows have just been evolving like mad. And so I feel like there's always constant improvements. But what I want to give you here is my system for creating a podcast and also leveraging podcasts, because you don't really need you don't need a podcast of your own to make this happen. So I just want to put that in your mind right now. Hey, I'm Joe Fier, and welcome to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. This is where we talk all about building businesses so they give you the freedom and fuel for your life. I'm not here to help you build $1 billion business, but I am here to help you create a business with systems that work for you so you can make more money than you need just by working part-time. You know, I was a chronic hustle mode kind of guy, and I want to share my experiences and mentors I've met along the way to help you reframe things to be the most effective as an entrepreneur. I wish I had this guidance and insight when I was younger, so that's what I'm doing here for you. Please share and enjoy. The goal here, and what I've found after not only doing this for myself, but working with many clients over the years, but really over the last 6-7 months, going deep with some of these clients in different niches, coaches, experts, people with personal brands, people with other smaller businesses that are, they have a small team and there's product services, consultants. What I've found podcasting to do is really harness growing a personal brand, attracting the best, most engaged and relevant audience, and also allowing ultimately to scale your business because you have this engaged audience. They're kind of fans more than just a transactional audience or an email list, for instance, that doesn't really engage too well. So what I've found, with seeing the results of some of these clients, and they're telling me, hey, this has been the best experience of launching a product or a series of workshops, launching and selling at a retreat, an in-person retreat. This has brought the most fun crowd to me and enjoyable people to work with. That's what I want to work with. I want to work with cool people. So what I wanted to do is share how I've seen podcasting become this integrated system, not just as, hey, I have a podcast, I'm a podcaster. Like, that's not the point. The point is you're leveraging podcasting as this content tool, this kind of core thing. It's like the hub of marketing. And this is how it's been for me for so many years. And then for a lot of my clients, it's starting to become that, where podcasts can be that source of content that then integrates in all varieties of marketing for that business. And obviously each business is different and it can be modified, saying all that. So the point is, I want to share not only this episode and a couple of solos I have planned. There's a special event I'm holding this Friday. That is July 28th at noon Pacific time. So 12 p.m. Pacific, PST, on July 28th, that's Friday. I'm going to be hosting a live workshop, totally free, no cost. It's essentially called Podcast Smarter, Not Harder. And it's going to be the AI-powered podcaster's blueprint for success. And it is pretty much what it says. So this thing's going to walk you through how to leverage podcasting in a smart way with an integrated system, and then leveraging smart tools to actually do this consistently, but also save you a ton of time and get more leverage out of your efforts. So go to hustleandflowchart.com/podsmart, and that's going to get you right to the page there. So hit pause. I will wait for you. It's all good. And type in hustleandflowchart.com/podsmart. That's PODSMART. It's totally free. You're going to see a Zoom registration page. Just plug in your name and email address, and you're all going to be good to go for July 28th at noon Pacific time. So hustleandflowchart.com/podsmart. I'll wait. All right. Well, this Jeopardy's done now. All right. So thank you for doing that. And I'm going to see you there because I've been putting out a lot of content around podcasting. I've been getting a lot of feedback and realizing who are the folks that are really, who needs this the most. And honestly, it's all businesses, but primarily what I'm noticing are a lot of these experts, people who have a brand. It might not be just a personal brand, but it's a brand that you want to grow and put in front of an audience who is engaged, people who are looking specifically for what you have to offer. And I don't know of another way to do that in the most engaged and one-to-one manner at scale than podcasting. So that's what I want to share with you here. And really quick, I want to get into, well, for one, the one-to-one manner. If you think of video, you're usually speaking to an individual, or at least you kind of should. But at the same time, it has kind of like a group feel because you can watch videos in your living room. YouTube's kind of everywhere. You're sharing it around. Whereas a podcast is a very intimate, it's a one-to-one thing. We're not talking to you all or, hey guys, or how y'all doing? It's a single person. How are you doing? You're listening to me probably in some headphones, one-to-one manner. Maybe you are with some folks in the car or something, and that's cool. Hey, how you doing? But the point is, most people are engaged one-to-one. They're completing episodes. I mean, the engagement rate on my episodes are 80+%. That's been in the 90s on some episodes. Videos don't do that. That's podcasting for you. And with the invent of all these AI tools and all these things coming out, you can really leverage your time when it comes to podcasting. And when I talk about podcasting, I want to say it really quick. You do not need a show. You don't need to have any experience or podcast of your own. It will help. But what I recommend doing is starting by guesting on other shows because you're tapping immediately into an existing audience. This is one that exists. It's sitting there. Really, all you got to do is reach out, make that connection with the host, present yourself in a manner that is attractive, that you're going to give value to their audience. And you're doing them a service to speak with them to their audience on their virtual stage. That's how I like to see it. So if you can visualize, okay, there's all these podcasts floating out there, and you could just go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and just look at the categories. Sure, there's some that are huge podcasts, but there's also tiny podcasts. And maybe this is a reframe for you because some of these smaller shows, let's call it 1,000 listens per episode or lower, 100 listens, 20 listens. Those are the most engaged people. So depending on, for that specific audience. And these people are the ones that take action. They're the ones that are listening to you and they trust the host bringing in a guest that can connect with them. And think about it. If you set yourself up and if you give great content, you give them a next step. So like a call to action, go join my list. Go listen to my podcast or go check me out on social media. Hit me up in DMs. Send me an email. Book a call with me. These are all immediate ways you can get going and see results with podcasting immediately. You don't need to do the production yourself. You can definitely, and I would say should, I don't like to use that word all the time, but that's how you start to leverage your appearances on other shows. You can almost treat it as your own show. So I want to give you that kind of pre-frame or reframe maybe for some folks on how I see podcasting and how you can immediately get started is just by guesting. And I would recommend that to everyone, even if you have a show. It's a low barrier to entry. And right now, speaking into that even further, low barrier to entry, podcasting equipment and tools, very inexpensive these days. There's a lot of software and editing tools that are free or inexpensive. Adobe's putting stuff out there. You're seeing things all over the place. And I'll name some of them shortly here and definitely in that workshop. I'll shout it out one more time. hustleandflowchart.com/podsmart. But I want to bust that barrier in your mind when it comes to, I got to have the perfect studio. I need the perfect environment, microphone, headphones, camera. Sure, it helps. You don't need them. You don't need them at all. You could use usually what you have, get started, and then you can use some of these software now. These AI tools are making audio, like editing a breeze, cleaning up audio and making it sound crisp like a studio. So don't let that be a limitation to yourself anymore. Now, Speaking a little deeper on AI tools and workflows, this is the key that's been so interesting the last 6 months, 7 months, is all these AI tools that are coming out and so many automations and ways to leverage things like ChatGPT, of course, and all these other tools that are out there. Well, this is where a lot of people are like, oh, podcasting is dead or podcasting is going to drop off. Well, that maybe has happened in some cases for some people, but when it comes to with a strategic way to use podcasting and marketing to speak to individuals who are actually looking for what you have, it's definitely not. And these tools and automations are things that will enhance that time you spend on other podcasts and even on your own to spread your message to platforms where you might not have been putting content out in the first place, but maybe your most ideal content or audience are living there. And tools and workflows are the key. So with tools, I was chatting with my friend and mentor, Rich Sheffrin, the other day, and I was asking him, like, what's the next evolution with this AI stuff? Like, because he's always forward thinking, he's very strategic. And, because of all this movement, it's tough to really strategize too far ahead. But the key is to leverage these smart tools, but also put them into a workflow, something where you can connect and integrate these tools with what you're doing and producing. The tools are great. But to be honest, just like any other product or thing out there, they could be shiny objects very quickly and consume a ton of your time. But if you know the exact tools that you need and the ones to really leverage your time best, save you time and money, but also put you in front of way more people, that's where this combination of AI tools and workflows and prompting and things like that really come into play. So some of the tools I've been using, I'll just list them out kind of quick here. ChatGPT, that's a no-brainer, but it's amazing for, condensing a lot of information, or at least a decent amount of information, and giving you a starting point. It can give you frameworks on talking points for these guest episodes or even your own episodes. I do that from time to time. ChatGPT is great for that. There's a ton of prompts, can help you with some copywriting to get stuff done that maybe felt like a barrier before. Definitely leverage that. Another one is Claude. That's CLAUDE. This is a newer one I've been using, and it condenses a lot more information into one. So you can upload a lot of body of content, PDF. You can put books in there, your own content. That's a great way to, it's kind of like ChatGPT, but it has its own, it can basically handle a lot more data. That's a great one to condense and summarize things really quickly. Perplexity.ai is one where if you're looking for like quick lists or how to do things or get some ideas, maybe do some quick research for episodes, that's what I've been using. It's great. Cleanvoice.ai, awesome tool for editing to get basically chopping at all these gaps, making your audio sound great. It's not going to totally replace an editor, but it's going to get you 80-90% of the way there. It even helps you write some show notes too. Riverside.fm. This is one I've used on and off over the years, but more than ever now, I'm seeing the use of it over things like Zoom just for the quality. Because when you do podcasting, something to think about is try to record video and audio. Even if you're not going to use the video all the time or have a perfect plan for it, capture that stuff because you're going to be able to leverage and chop it up and repurpose it in so many ways. And YouTube is now really starting to put a push for podcasting. And that's honestly the missing link right now for this podcast. So you're going to see an evolution in the weeks to come to go on YouTube because, again, it's all about workflows. So that's a piece to show up on in a great platform. The last one is Cast Magic. This one is all about post-production. So if you want to really automate show notes and all these workflows and really dial things in, Cast Magic is a tool to help cut down and shortcut that way there. Is it going to do it all for you? No. Is it correct all the time? No. So this is, again, going into the workflow and understanding how things connect and how something like Cast Magic or these other tools I just listed fit into your workflows and the whole overall process and then strategy of what you're trying to accomplish. So that's a lot. I'm going to take a breath and remind you that workshop on Friday at noon Pacific time. Definitely go there, hustleandflowchart.com/podsmart, SMART. That's going to get you there totally free. And I'm going to be deep diving on more of this stuff. And just to round this episode out, the workflows and consistency, just to remind you about podcasting in general, like it could be a long-term game, but if you are leveraging it as a marketer and thinking, where do my people live? Like where's my audience? That's why I love guesting so much. And that's a workflow to get the referrals, to get people introduced to you, those warm introductions. I have a system for that, by the way, in a workflow. That's an example of a smart workflow that can help get you consistent opportunities to get in front of audiences. Another one is your own podcast production workflow and consistency. It's the editing process, what that looks like. It's also the post-production process and what do you do with the marketing of your content. What I'm talking about here are smart workflows and keeping the consistency. So with podcasting and with everything great in life, it's all about the compounded efforts. So when you have these smart workflows to connect the dots, that's where the magic really happens, and then content starts to really pick up. And I'm going to just round this out here and emphasize that your audience is what it all comes down to, and choosing and locating your best audience. So you should know your most ideal avatar. And if you don't know, we'll talk about that. We'll probably talk about that in the workshop. And then there's also a small group cohort that I'm starting about a week later. And I would love to have you in there as well. I'll shout that out really quick at the end here, because knowing your audience is everything. And when you know your audience, that's like 80% of the effort, because from there, now you can start to zero in and figure out who are the people that I want to connect with? Who are the hosts out there that have these audiences? And then what is the offer? What's the thing that I can give them as a next step that will serve them best and solve their problems? Once you really get to know them, okay, what is that thing? And then obviously during the episode, what are the topics? How do I best present myself to be the most specialized, expert person that is qualified to speak in front of these people? And no, that doesn't mean you need to have the biggest audience or the most amount of experience. It comes down to the way that you present yourself and warm introductions. And again, there's systems and workflows and ways to do this where you don't need to have this experience prior to. And that's where a lot of people get hung up. But really understanding, hey, it's all about who you're speaking with. And that includes the guest of a podcast you're on, or the guest on your podcast too, because there's some smart leveraged workflows around that. But again, the key is to really focus on who are these people you're serving, because with these, the referrals and this kind of flywheel effect starts happening when you're really attracting the right people. The sales increase. You're getting partnerships now that you can maybe go into business together as partners officially, but at least as affiliate JV partners. This is something that over the last 13 plus years on the back of content, affiliate marketing has always been layered in there. So when you focus on the right audience and figure out what they really need, there's so many ways to serve them and so many ways to monetize things in general. So I'm going to finish this episode off really quick, announcing or reminding you about that announcement of the free workshop on Friday. And that, again, is at 12 p.m. PST on Friday, the 28th. And go to hustleandflowchart.com/podsmart. That's PODSMART. It's totally free. And I'll be lining out how to podcast smarter, not harder, and give you a whole bunch of workflows and kind of this integrated system using AI tools and other smart automations to get it done. And before you head out, and after hopefully you signed up for that workshop, because I will see you there, I want to extend a separate invitation for you as a podcast listener. You're still with me right here. You're obviously engaged. So what I'm going to kick off about a week after that workshop is a full-on 6-week live intensive style sessions. It's going to be every single week a new session. And this is going to be done in a small group environment. So this is kind of like a cohort. Only 15 people will be in on this with me, because I'm supercharging it with some one-on-one consulting calls. So there's a series of calls that I'm providing to you in addition to this small group live training where we're talking about the system and really diving deeper on what we talked about today and a lot more that you'll see in that workshop on Friday. But also getting very specific into your business and me spending that one-on-one time with you to implement it specifically to what your goals are and how you should put it into place to get the most leverage out of it. In addition to tons of templates, workflows, processes, and resources to fast track what you're doing. So I would love to extend this invitation to you and also say for the first 5 people from the podcast here who reach out and sign up for this whole intensive session, 6 week plus with the calls and everything, email me at joe@hustleandflowchart.com. I will send you details. Let me know that you want to see the details for this because I'm only sharing it to people who are showing interest. I want to get the right people in, the ones who are really pumped up and you're feeling that this is going to be the thing to move you in 2023 and far beyond because this is evergreen content. Email me, joe@hustleandflowchart.com. And if you're one of the first 5 from this podcast who sign up, I will also give you an additional one-on-one consulting session with you. I typically charge $500 for those to clients. I want to give that to you for free for being a fast action mover. So make sure to give me an email to ask for those details for this group coaching program. You're going to love it. I'm excited to share it. It's something I haven't done. I've been holding this for a long time. So email me, joe@hustleandflowchart.com, and I'll get those details right over to you. All right. Thank you for listening, and expect another one of these solos later this week so we can go a little deeper before that workshop too. All right. Thank you very much. Peace. All right. That's what I got for you today. And remember, it's not all about living to work. It's all about working to live if you need to do the work. But work can be fun and it should be fueling for your life. So if you enjoyed what you just heard, if you got some nuggets of wisdom that you want to share or you're just noodling on right now, please go tell others the way that people find this show and how you can help others get their aha moments is through word of mouth. So if it is telling your friend, telling your family, sending an email to your list, writing a review, or whatever it might be, everything helps. So thank you so much for listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast, and I will see you next time.